Warning: if you prefer your head coach to be the size of a munchkin, you might be an Alabama fan and find the content of this podcast about Auburn football disturbing.
This is the Eagles Nest, a podcast about all things Auburn football. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or the Google Play Store. Now, let's talk Auburn football with your host, Brett Mason and Jamie Thomas.
All right, let's do this thing. I am your resident Auburn fan. My name is Brett Mason, along with my co-host, Jamie Thomas. He is the resident Alabama fan around here. We talk about Auburn football every week. War Eagle, buddy.
Roll Tide, roll.
All day long, I outsource a team of young Filipino women to find the best deals on Auburn gear that you can find anywhere, and we assemble it on a website just for you guys. If you're into Auburn gear, you should go check out aushirt.com. aushirt.com. There's all kind of cool stuff up there. Your smartphone covers, shirts, backpacks.
Really had no idea where you were going with Filipino women.
So go check that out, and look, it won't cost you any more money to buy there. They're great deals, and it'll help our show out so we can buy a better microphone or something. I don't know. Remember, you can subscribe to us, and the shows will just show up on your device no matter what phone you have. It's easy. Just search for Crimson Corner and Eagles Nest. Crimson Corner and Eagles Nest. And that's available on iTunes, the Google Play Store. We're available on Stitcher. And, of course, check us out online at southeasternfootball.com. I'll be honest with you, I've dreaded this podcast a little bit, Jamie, because I just don't want to talk about the Clemson game anymore. I've wrote several articles about it. I've spent way more time talking to my Auburn friends about it than I care to. But that's what we do here on the show, so let's jump right into it, shall we?
Let's go.
Have you ever seen a more bizarre, unexplainable, inexplicable thing than what happened with the quarterback situation with Auburn playing Clemson this weekend?
I'm 36 years old, and I've either been playing football or watching football since I was 5. And I have never seen such craziness as I saw with that quarterback rotation.
Here's the thing, though, Jamie. If it had worked, he would have been hailed as some kind of out there on the edge, past everybody else's level of being able to understand football genius or something. But it didn't work, and it didn't look like nothing compared to a genius.
I can almost understand Brett doing it once. I can understand having Sean White or JF3 in there and the offense get moving and then pull them out and watch Jeremy Johnson either come in and do something stupid or, throw an interception. I can understand it once. I can almost understand it twice. But for the third time, when Jeremy Johnson comes into the game, when you're driving the ball down Clemson's throat and your running backs are getting 8-10 yards a carry and your quarterback's getting 6 or 7 yards every time he keeps the football, why in the heck do you put Jeremy Johnson back in the football game continually to watch the drive just falter?
I was shocked about a lot of things, but the two things that shocked me most was you rotate quarterbacks from down to down. First of all,
I never. How does a quarterback get any momentum or confidence doing that?
From a guy who supposedly runs a speed offense, when you're constantly substituting quarterbacks, there's still not going to be any hurry up. And he had the gall in the press conference to say, "Oh yeah, we could have ran hurry up with doing that. It just didn't work out right." And I'm like, really? This is the second thing that got me the worst. The fact that Jeremy Johnson got any snaps.
Yeah.
Like, I can understand bringing JF3 in. We think maybe this kid might can do something. Let's give him a chance. But you bring JJ in? Do you not remember any of last season at all? I love Jeremy Johnson. I think he's a team player. He's come in and delivered in several games when they needed him to deliver as a backup. We saw the same look that we saw last year. The minute he got in and took a snap, he looked like the deer in the middle of the road with the headlights bearing down on him, and he looked like that every time he took a snap. This is a direct quote from Gus Malzahn. Our goal going in was to be aggressive. The plan was that we were going to throw a lot at them. We felt like all three quarterbacks had something they could be successful with, and we were going to give them a lot to think about. You gave them a lot to think about. I'm just not sure it was in the right kind of way. And then, Jamie, they had all three quarterbacks in on the same play, which is something I've never seen before. And all in all, 5 different people took snaps during the games. It wasn't just enough to play the 3 quarterbacks. We had to bring other people in to take snaps. I mean, Sean White is the quarterback for this team right now. I don't know how anybody can't see that. Now, look, he's probably not who you'd prefer to be the quarterback if you had to choose any quarterback in the world. But he is the quarterback, and I'll tell you when I was sold on him, Jamie, and I saw it last year. But they got 40 seconds left on the clock, and they have a chance to win this game. And Sean White is trying to take them down the field to get this done with 40 seconds left remaining after his coaches has done everything in the world to throw this game for the team. And he looked like it was 3 minutes into the second quarter and you were up by 14. He wasn't stressed. He wasn't freaked out about it. He was calm and collected. It was like, we're going to move down the field. We got a job to do. The kid has ice cold water in his veins, and he has some ability. And let's just let him run this offense. Let's just let him run the offense.
I believe Malzahn has named him as the starter.
Well, he did that last week too. So.
Well, yeah, he did, but I think he said, there would be no more 3-quarterback system. That doesn't mean that the JL3 is not going to play. But I think maybe we have seen the end of the Jeremy Johnson era at Auburn.
But boy, our Facebook page was blown up for calls to fire Gus Malzahn, and it could get bad this year if he doesn't turn it around. I still think he can. I still have a little bit of optimism. We'll see. Things could get bad and worse than I thought. I really didn't think it could get that bad, but after watching that first week, things could get bad for Gus if they don't turn around pretty quick.
Well, I think he can turn it around. I think Auburn definitely has a defense, they can build upon this year with that. The offense, if they can somehow manage to average 24 to 28 points a game, it's going to be hard for anybody else in the SEC to outscore them. I mean, this is a great defense. I don't know. They just got to figure out how to get 3 touchdowns and a field goal every time they get on the field.
I told you last week that the thing I was most looking forward to watching was the defense play. I had high expectations for the defense. Interestingly enough, a couple things that I was really excited about watching didn't turn out to be all that great, and other things I wasn't expecting to be that great turned out to be really good. So it was fun to watch them, and I was surprised along the way. I did not expect this linebacker crew to do as good a job as they did, but this Deshaun Davis and the Williams boys, Darrell and Trey, were just flying around and batting down passes and sticking receivers and coming in from all over the field to make plays from every direction. And I was just blown away. And the funny thing was, now granted, Carlton Davis, who I thought after last year, who looked great last year, and I thought and he still could be phenomenal this year. Granted, he was on one of the best receivers in the country, catching passes from maybe the best quarterback in the country. But he did not quite live up to my expectations. But now these guys, I was very impressed with them. I expected a little bit more from Carl Lawson, but I thought evenly across the line that we were getting pressure from both sides, up the middle too, and stayed in their backfield a reasonable amount of the time.
Well, I think you mentioned Carl Lawson. I believe that one of the reasons you saw some of these other guys have such good football games is I saw on multiple occasions where Carl Lawson was being double-teamed, and even in a couple of instances he was being triple-teamed. So, he took away the pressure from the rest of the defense that they were able to step up and make plays. When you're a big-time defensive player, that's just as important as getting, 7 or 8 tackles a game and a sack. If you can pull that pressure off of your teammates and allow them to make plays, I mean, you're doing your job just as well as they are.
Oh, absolutely. And we talked a little bit about that last week. That's one of the things he brings. Even when he's not beating a guy and getting through, and he is affecting the offense in a way. On every down, he affects what they have to account for him. It's just like when you have a mobile quarterback and you have to account for that quarterback. He has that same type thing going on the defense. And it really allowed Montravius Adams, who I thought would do a little better, had a pretty solid game. Dontavius Russell, though, I thought had an excellent game up front. And the linebacking core was just, again, I just thought they were outstanding, considering we were facing a quarterback of that caliber, his ability to toss and fling that ball around the field. I thought those guys did really good against the pass. The last thing I'll say about this defense, Jamie, is I didn't know that much about Steele. I knew he had a good reputation. I knew what he did over there before he came to Auburn. I watched his press conference this week, and I'm sitting there watching this guy going, this is a defensive coordinator. Yeah. This guy says things that I'm going, yeah, hell yeah. And let me tell you, if there was ever a guy that gets it, this guy gets it. I'm really excited about what he's going to do with this defense as the year goes on. I put together a list of things. This is my wish list for what I want to see at Arkansas State. Rather than talking about what I think we'll see, Jamie, I think we'll end the show talking about what I'd like to see. I want to see Sean White run the offense, Jamie. I want to see him put Sean White in. I want to see him on the offense. I want to see him take them down the field, drive after drive after drive, put some momentum together, get into a groove with his receivers, get into a groove with the backs, and let's see what this kid can do. Give the kid a chance. And put Cameron Petway in. We didn't see him last week. I was a little surprised by that.
Well, going back to what you said about Sean White running the offense this week and maybe scheming a little bit for JF3, I'm going to have to kind of disagree with you on that. I think after what we saw in the first week and the debacle that turned out to be, I think you've got to put the ball in Sean White's hands and say, okay, if we get up by 3 touchdowns or 4 touchdowns, we're going to pull you, we're going to rest you, and then you're going to play. You're going to play next week. You're going to be our starter next week. On the other side of that, if he comes out and he struggles really hard, yeah, maybe JF3 comes in and we see if he can lead the offense and spark the offense. But I think if you put White in, and he's successful, I don't think you rotate JF3 in and out of this game right now. I think you give White a chance to play the game from start to finish, and in this case, the finish for this team, for the starters, could be, midway through the third quarter, into the third quarter, and then allow JF3 to get some reps. But I think Sean White needs to build that confidence. I think he needs to prove that he can run this offense. He's got to win over Gus Malzahn. He's got to win over the Lashley and the coaching staff there, and he's also got to win over the Auburn faithful. It's going to be a long year for him.
Well, we mostly agree on that. The other thing I want to see is something we didn't talk about in the first half of the show. This offensive line had a lot to do with Auburn's offense, Jamie. We didn't talk a lot about them. They were getting beat across the board pretty good, but I think most of that came from Leff over at right tackle, who was not doing his job at all pretty much the whole game, and it was just kept collapsing that line down. Now, is that something we're being to fix? Because I don't care who you got back there at quarterback. If you continue to get the line collapsed down from the outside every down or every other down, it doesn't matter who the quarterback is or who the running back is, you're going to be stuffed every play. Yeah. So, these guys got to physical up, man. I thought we were going to see a better offensive line, and we just didn't. And there was so much weirdness with the quarterback. I think if the quarterback situation hadn't been weird, I think the big story this week would have been, my God, what happened to the O-line? Because we got some guys in there. Golson played pretty good last year. Now, they moved him over. He's not center this year. Maybe they should consider moving him back. Maybe he needs to be the guy leading the line. I don't know. If you want Sean White or anybody to have success, we got to see something more from this O-line. And then finally, Carlton Davis, man, I want to see him step up to his potential because he is the last missing piece back there in that secondary that could make this defense maybe the best defense we've seen since, I don't know, pick your year. We'll pick 2004 since that's the most recent one. But Auburn fans, I do love my Auburn Tigers, and I expect to be singing the praises of the offense before the year is over, and I'm still optimistic about this year, so don't send me the hate mail. I just try to be honest about what's going on, and you know that was ugly last week. Don't pretend like it wasn't ugly. Subscribe to us on iTunes, Google Play Store, Stitcher. Search for Crimson Corner and Eagles Nest. Find us online at Southeastern Football, and we'll catch you next week. Jamie, have a good week, brother. We'll talk to you then. War Eagle, man.
Roll Tide, roll.
The Eagles Nest is part of the Brett Mason Media Network. Online at brettmasonmedia.com. Thanks for listening to the show. If you loved it, please share it with your friends. And don't forget to subscribe on iTunes or the Google Play Store. And War Eagle.